A small-town sheriff walks up to a bank robbery in progress, and the people who open fire on him are his own deputies. In Normal, population 1890, nothing is what it seems, not the friendly mayor, not the vault in the local bank, and definitely not the new interim sheriff. This is Normal, explained. Quick warning, we are covering the entire movie, including the ending, so spoilers ahead. Normal is a dark comedy crime thriller about a washed-out substitute sheriff, a snowed-in town with a terrible secret, and one very bad Saturday. Let's get into it. Ulysses arrives in Normal as the new interim sheriff, filling in for 8 weeks until the town elects a permanent lawman. In voiceover he explains his whole philosophy. His goal is to leave this town exactly the way he found it, get involved in nothing, and care as little as possible. He meets Deputy Mike, a cheerful young officer wearing a brand new motorcycle jacket. Mike explains he bought it to match the chopper he is saving up for, and admits the bike does not exist yet. Ulysses points out the jacket is literally loud and probably not regulation, then decides it actually looks cool. Driving through town, Ulysses spots a gleaming new community project and learns it cost $16.8 million. He is stunned that a tiny place like Normal has that kind of money, but Mike just says the whole community came together to make it happen. It is the first hint that something is off. Mike introduces him to Mayor Kibner, the town's relentlessly upbeat leader, who is busy preparing next week's big parade. Everyone in town dresses up for it, and Mike admits he always wanted to be the parade mascot but never got picked, though he insists he is not bitter about it. At the local cafe, Ulysses watches a furious man named Tom screaming at the receptionist Sally because his neighbor Carl keeps parking a tow truck in his driveway. Ulysses calmly steps in, introduces himself as the sheriff, and promises to drive out and settle the dispute personally. Sally explains the situation. Sheriff Gunderson, the town's previous lawman, died just last week, and Ulysses is only the substitute, like a substitute teacher. Deputy Blaine arrives carrying donuts, jokes about Ulysses keeping the badge warm for him, and reminds everyone to vote for him in the election 6 weeks away. In voiceover, Ulysses admits he has stopped trusting his own instincts. He explains to Penny, a woman from his past, that it is not that he does not care anymore, life is just a lot easier when you care a little less. Then again, he adds, we are who we are. Exploring the sheriff's station, Ulysses discovers a shocking armory, including bricks of C4 explosives. Apparently after 9/11, Sheriff Gunderson applied for every anti-terrorism grant available and stocked up on military-grade equipment, and nobody in town ever questioned what a tiny sheriff's department needed it for. Ulysses settles into the rhythm of the town, noticing all its little quirks, like doors left unlocked everywhere. He describes his interim job as staying out of the way of those quirks, calling himself a midwife with a gun, just helping the town transition smoothly to its next real sheriff. At the diner he meets Ernie, the owner, whose walls are covered with hundreds of guns collected by his grandfather after the war. When Ulysses asks if any of them are loaded, Ernie cheerfully replies that they would not be much fun if they were not. Ulysses orders the meatloaf. The weather report on the radio warns that temperatures are dropping fast and the first big winter storm of the season is on its way. Snow is coming to Normal, and it is going to trap everyone in town before this story is over. Ulysses deals with classic small-town chaos, a moose wandering Main Street that apparently steals paint and paperwork for the parade route. There is also a celebration of life planned for former Sheriff Gunderson, a potluck memorial where the mayor promises Ulysses will not have to say a word. At the hardware store, the owner demands Ulysses arrest old Clayton for shoplifting, or as he puts it, for being a son of a bitch. Clayton complains Amazon sells everything 30% cheaper and he was making a point. Instead of arresting anyone, Ulysses calmly walks the old man out of the store. Next call, a yarn shop dispute where a customer ordered pink yarn and received mauve. Ulysses is genuinely unable to help because he is colorblind and the two colors look exactly the same to him. It is another day of low-stakes shenanigans he describes as saying nothing to see here over and over. Sally tracks him on a police scanner and CB radio because she gets lonely and nosy. Driving past Gunderson's enormous McMansion, Ulysses wonders aloud how a small-town sheriff afforded it, joking the man must have issued a hell of a lot of parking tickets. At the potluck memorial for Gunderson, Ulysses asks what people thought of the late sheriff. The honest answer comes back, he was a son of a bitch, but he was their son of a bitch. The whole town eats, drinks, and remembers a man nobody seems to actually miss. Gunderson's daughter Alex quietly pulls Ulysses aside and hands him something that belonged to her father, admitting she took it off his corpse before they closed the casket. She thinks the new sheriff should be the one wearing it. The town doctor tells Ulysses how Gunderson was found, out back of his house on a Wednesday night, wearing nothing but his tiny Wheaties, frozen solid, holding a fishing rod in one hand and an ice auger in the other. Officially, the drunk old sheriff wandered out to go ice fishing in his underwear. Mayor Kibner makes Ulysses an offer: stay in Normal permanently, become the real sheriff, build a whole new life. The mayor sells the town hard, insisting Normal celebrates community above everything, always one for all. Ulysses politely says he will think about it. Ulysses spots Alex arguing with Deputy Blaine near a van. She is Gunderson's daughter, a military veteran whose proud photos still line her father's office walls, though she bitterly notes those are old pictures from when he was still proud of her. That night at the bar, the bartender Moira listens as Ulysses tells his story. He used to be a real sheriff in another county, married to his high school sweetheart, walking through life with his head held high, completely certain of who he was. Then came the case that broke him. A young girl reported that her father, an upstanding citizen Ulysses knew, had been hurting her, and Ulysses did not believe her. Some while later there was an incident at the house, gunshots, and he went in. As he tells it, the girl was standing over her wounded father with a gun. Ordered to drop it, she instead shot him right between the eyes, then aimed at Ulysses, cursing him for not believing her. They both fired, and Ulysses had better aim. After that night, he went dark inside. Back at the station, the answering machine holds a message from Mayor Kibner: people are really liking the new sheriff's light touch, and if Ulysses is considering his offer to stay, he should call back as soon as he can. Ulysses meets Lori, a friendly local woman with a dog named Olive, chatting at a vending machine about how they should really stock dog food. They share matching mustaches and an easy rapport. He warns her to watch out for the moose on her way home. Alone, Ulysses leaves Penny another voicemail, wondering how love goes away and admitting he took her for granted. Then a darker thought creeps in: is this what happened to Gunderson? Did the man just give up one night, say forget it all, and walk into the snow? He finds Alex drinking bourbon alone by her van and asks about her fight with Blaine. She reveals Mayor Kibner banned her from her own father's memorial, claiming she would be a distraction. Ulysses is disgusted, and the two outsiders share the cheap booze. Alex opens up: after the mayor arrived, her father was stuck between his daughter and the town made him choose. She is convinced her father's frozen death was no drunken accident. Ulysses offers her a safe place to crash at the station, breakfast included. The next morning starts with pure Normal absurdity as Sally and Ulysses argue about parade traffic cones and standard operating procedure. Then the tone snaps: an alarm and shouting announce that the local bank is being robbed right now. Inside the bank, masked robbers Lori, Keith, and Terry order everyone to the floor. Yes, the same friendly Lori from the vending machine, now waving a gun and promising that if everyone cooperates, no one gets hurt. The robbery immediately falls apart. The till holds barely $2,000 because nobody uses cash anymore. Furious that they did all this for nothing, the trio demands to be taken to the vault, even though they are running out of time before the sheriff arrives. In the chaos, the bank manager collapses, his heart giving out under the stress. While one robber panics and another performs chest compressions, the vault finally swings open, and outside, Ulysses and his deputies are pulling up to the scene. Inside, Keith is already bleeding and the situation is slipping out of everyone's control. Ulysses orders Mike to cover the rear and tells his deputies he is going in alone, arguing that if they handle this wrong, the whole thing turns into a massacre. Ulysses slowly approaches the bank door with his hands calm, announcing himself. It should be a routine negotiation. Instead, the unthinkable happens. Deputy Blaine opens fire on his own sheriff. Bullets crack past Ulysses as the hostages inside scream in confusion, shouting to ask why the police are shooting at their own sheriff. Ulysses dives, draws, and fires back. Ulysses' return fire takes a piece out of Blaine, blowing part of his ear clean off, and the deputy scrambles for cover. Inside the bank, the robbers are stunned, the sheriff just saved them from his own department. Taking cover inside the bank, Ulysses gets everyone down and demands answers. Lori swears she and Keith are not part of whatever setup this is. When the robbers ask why his own people shot at him, Ulysses admits the truth: he is not the sheriff, he is the goddamn substitute. Ulysses forces the vault open all the way and finally sees what the robbers stumbled into: shelf after shelf stacked with cash and gold bars, a fortune no small-town bank should be holding. Nobody robbing this bank had any idea what was really inside. Terry panics, slips away, and grabs for a gun to shoot Ulysses, but in the scuffle he accidentally shoots himself. Outside, Mike secures the back door, and Ulysses recognizes him instantly by the familiar rustle of that ridiculous loud jacket. Ulysses makes a decision no real sheriff would make. Since the town shot at him and the robbers did not, he declares that he, Lori, and Keith are now a team, a messed up little trio. Both robbers, out of options, quickly agree. Searching the bank, Ulysses finds military-style crates full of weapons, matching the arsenal from Gunderson's station. Whatever Normal is hiding, it involves serious firepower, and his little team looks badly outgunned. Outside, Mayor Kibner arrives with what looks like the entire town, armed to the teeth. On the phone, the mayor admits he asked Blaine to shoot Ulysses clean through, annoyed that such a small request was too much for his deputy. The mayor explains everything. Main streets like theirs are dying all across America, plundered by banks and conglomerates, whole towns holding on by a thread. So when the Yakuza came and offered a deal, Normal listened. The deal: the Yakuza make so much money in America they cannot ship it all home, so the town agreed to hold a portion of their illicit U.S. profits in the bank vault for a percentage. The whole town sold its soul together, and the few who objected were quietly taken care of. The mayor offers Ulysses one way out: execute the two robbers, and the blood on his hands becomes his insurance policy, binding him to Normal forever. Ulysses hangs up on him. The town cuts the power, blowing the substation and plunging Normal into darkness. With the storm raging and the phones down, nobody can call for outside help, and the armed townsfolk begin sweeping the streets for the sheriff and his two robbers. The hunt begins. Ordinary shopkeepers and neighbors roam Main Street with rifles, checking buildings one by one. Ulysses keeps his group moving through the dark, repeating the bitter truth: this is a normal town, but this is not normal. Holed up in a shop, the trio treats their wounds and finds a battery-powered CB radio. Over the air they hear the townspeople coordinating, and one chilling instruction repeated: if you see the sheriff, you stop him, because he knows. Even the friendly locals reveal their other face. At Katie's shop the conversation moves casually from medical kits to ammunition, and the townsfolk discuss the bank robbers who teamed up with the sheriff after discovering the Yakuza gold in the vault. Through the radio chatter they learn the real stakes: the Oyabun, the Yakuza boss, is coming to Normal, and he will kill everyone if his treasure is touched. One local puts it perfectly: you have your devil, we have our Akuma, and both fear the Oyabun. Ulysses forms a plan: the police station has a snowplow, and a plow can smash through anything in this storm. The trio makes a run for it through the dark streets as gunfire erupts around them. The escape turns into a running street battle. Townsfolk they greeted that morning now attack on sight, and one furious local shouts the question that defines the whole movie: they chose Ulysses because of his reputation for not caring, so why did he decide to start now? In the chaos, Keith reveals he stole a gold brick from the vault, because of course he did. The wild flight continues, and somewhere in the madness the town even manages to kill its own mailman, which everyone agrees is a fresh hell. The group gets separated in the storm as the plow run goes sideways, and Ulysses loses track of Mike in the gunfire. The night keeps getting worse. Keith's wound is getting serious, and Lori cannot keep him alive alone in a blizzard. The plow becomes their only ticket out of Normal. Ulysses sends Lori and Keith away toward a hospital, giving them the stolen gold brick as a second chance, telling them to go build something good out of it. He stays behind, admitting he is tired of running away from every goddamn thing in his life. The town closes in on his last refuge, and Ulysses ends up exactly where this story's truth has been waiting all along: Moira's bar. Over a drink, Moira lays out the situation with bartender Calm. They all need to clean up this mess before the Yakuza turn up and kill every single person in Normal. Then she starts peeling apart his story. The two trade confessions about souls. Moira says hers was never sold, just lost, and explains that bartenders hear so much nonsense they get very good at sniffing out lies. Ulysses' story, she says, was true right up until the end. Moira names his lie: the girl did not kill her father. Ulysses did. He admits it, he is the one who shot the man right between the eyes for what he had done to his daughter. He figured it was justice back then. Now he does not know. That single choice is why Ulysses has avoided making any choices ever since, watching life from the sidelines, drifting through interim jobs in towns like this one. That is his truth. Then he asks for hers: what really happened to Gunderson? Moira confesses, she killed Sheriff Gunderson. He wanted out of the arrangement with the Yakuza, maybe wanted to burn the whole deal down, and in a small town, nobody gets out. Not even him. She describes it without blinking: she got him drunk, walked him out into the cold, and watched him freeze to death, which takes longer than you think, especially after she poured water on him. That night she learned she can do what needs to be done. Moira hands Ulysses something of Gunderson's, saying the old sheriff would have wanted him to have it, especially now. She warns him this shitstorm is only going to get worse, and sends him back out into it. Meanwhile, Blaine and the townsfolk crack the abandoned vault and start grabbing the Yakuza's cash and gold for themselves, the whole careful arrangement collapsing into looting. Ulysses phones the mayor with his leverage: Gunderson's C4 has been planted among the Yakuza's deposits in the vault. If he dies, it all goes boom, and if it goes boom, there will be no treasure left for the Yakuza at all. He spells out the bigger truth: if they do not finish this here and now, the Yakuza will hunt down and kill every single person involved, the mayor included. Nobody in Normal gets to walk away from this night. The Yakuza convoy rolls into town, and Ulysses makes his pitch to the boss: everyone tidies up the bank, makes the night look like an accident, just another Saturday, and the treasure stays untouched. His offer is simple: you make us look good, we make you look good, and maybe you get to keep the rest of your goddamn fingers. The Yakuza, for their part, politely apologize for killing the mayor during the chaos, noting he did seem like a bit of an a-hole. It is, everyone admits, not much of a plan. Ulysses agrees, he is not much of a sheriff. But he is all they have got. Ulysses deputizes Alex on the spot, and the whole town goes to work staging the scene. Bodies are arranged, evidence is buried under the fresh snow, and the bank is dressed up to look like a tragic car accident. Alex calls it the new normal, an entire town acting in perfect sync, covering up a massacre like it is just another community project. After the parade planning and the potlucks, it is disturbingly natural teamwork. When the Yakuza bosses tour the town, Blaine plays tour guide, introducing them as Pastor Roy and his friendly congregation from a parish over yonder, blaming the storm for knocking out every phone, radio, and road. Inside the bank, the performance holds. The driver was killed on impact, along with the bank manager and a security guard, and the vault, as everyone can see, remains completely untouched. The story is absurd, but it is the only story they have. Over meatloaf at the diner, Blaine raises a painfully awkward toast to friendship, to the happy arrangement, and to his own future as the next sheriff of Normal. Everyone smiles. Nobody believes a word. The performance cannot hold forever. Suspicion flares, weapons come out, and the uneasy dinner party collapses into a full-blown shootout between the Yakuza and the town. When the smoke clears, the survivors stare at what is left of Normal, and somehow the night ends the way every night in this town ends, at the diner, with pie. Against all odds, the sheriff and the survivors walk out calling each other friends. In the aftermath, life in Normal settles back into its rhythm. The secret stays buried under the snow, the town keeps its arrangement, and everyone agrees to never talk about that Saturday again. Ulysses leaves Penny one last voicemail from Texas, where he is filling in for a sheriff on maternity leave, with an interim deputy of his own along for the ride. As for Normal, he says, he left it exactly the way he found it, which was the job all along. Underneath the shootouts and dark comedy, Normal is really about a man who stopped making choices after one terrible choice destroyed him, and a town that made one terrible choice together. Ulysses finally stops drifting, chooses a side, and ends up in a better place. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which moment shocked you the most, the deputies opening fire, the vault full of Yakuza gold, or Moira's confession. Thanks for watching.